Welcome to the channel. It's a new year of Helldivers.
You know what they say.
It would really help out the channel if you took a moment to subscribe.
Knowledge from one generation to the next. So make sure you blow their heads off whenever you get the chance.
This is the first time I see a super destroyer crash into a planet's surface. We're back from the holidays, and I, for one, can't wait to see what Arrowhead will throw at us next once they are back in the office this week. But before that, I'd like to look back at the year that has passed. The game saw two major updates: the Escalation of Freedom, which introduced two new high-level enemies and a new high-level difficulty. The developers rebalanced the game, and everything in the story was geared towards the creation of the building of the Democratic Space Station, or DSS. And then the Omens of Tyranny, which was the one that changed up the game, bringing the long-awaited third faction, the Illuminate. But that wasn't all. It brought in vehicles and cityscapes, new powerful weaponry, a crossover with Killzone, and it changed things up in Helldivers 2 on another level. Things are in a good state right now in the Helldivers 2 universe. If we take a look at what is happening, right now it has been about trying out the new faction as we wait and see what plan the Illuminate have, and on the other fronts, things have been quiet. I've lost count on how many Illuminate attacks we've had in the free sectors by now. But this week, things are gearing up on the bot front. As you're watching this, we lost Gallivare to the automatons, only to retake it once again. I did my part, and it's been fun bringing new weaponry to the bot front. Dispatch is calling for all Helldivers to join the fight, and this time there are a lot more of us. Currently, some 125,000 Helldivers are active. That influx together with the new weaponry has really switched up the game, bringing the FRV into regular missions like you used to play them before. Just keep on hitting the silly string. I'm starting to think that giving the Helldivers unlimited access to cars might have been a really bad idea from Super Earth High Command. But who cares about budgets when you're having fun? Surely you can drive this thing up a rocket? When you're doing silly things on the highest level of the game, it shows something about the agency of the Galactic War, and I want to talk a little about that. I think the Galactic War as it played out during the Escalation of Freedom is the weakest part of the game. The thing is that the Galactic War is meant to be what maintain retention and interest between the major updates, which are currently released every 4 to 6 months or so. The Helldivers fought long and hard towards a goal to build a weapon to help their war effort, only to be let down by the DSS, as it turned out to be a hindrance. Right now the DSS is offline and is undergoing a much-needed rework, and I am just going to assume that it didn't quite play out like Arrowhead had first intended. It feels a bit like the DSS was a way to buy time before the introduction of the Illuminate. We'll see if they can work out the kinks in the system, but I also think it helped to visualize the biggest issue most players have with the Galactic War. A lot of players feel like they can't make any progress in the war. I get that this simulates a real war, since things rarely move quickly. What was meant to be a 3-day military operation to defeat your enemy turned into a 3-year-long war and so on. But I think that the timescale of real life doesn't really work in a video game, where players sit down for a few hours at a time and want to better themselves at the game and help out progression. I think it is pretty evident that in the first few months after launch, players were more actively involved in the Galactic War and invested a lot of effort into beating the automatons off the galactic map. They still talk about Malavalon Creek in reverence, since that battle helped them achieve something in the war they hadn't seen before. Soon after, the automatons returned and took over Cyberstan, and I don't see a problem with that. The automatons represent half the content of the game at that time, so of course they needed to be brought back. But this time, it was starting to become evident that the Helldivers would not be allowed to beat the automatons off the galactic map again anytime soon, and it didn't sit right with a lot of players. I personally would have handled it differently. And since the automatons already have a mysterious origin outside of Super Earth's area of control in the galaxy, I don't see a problem with letting them be beaten back yet another time, only to return once again. That would at least give players a visual reward for their efforts, and bring more meaning into the battles they choose to fight. If we play with the thought that the automatons have a homeworld outside of the current galactic map, I have the idea that when the time comes, the developers could introduce a new mission as extra content that would be an assault on their homeworld that could be completely separated from the galactic map, much like how the DSS was added with its own separate page over the war table. If this is something they don't want to do, then I think at least being allowed to beat the faction off the map entirely, only for them to return again, is a minor reward in itself. A simple reward like a new cape for each victory won in this way would go a long way without taking up much development resources. I think in hindsight, if they had done this instead of hyping up the DSS and focusing the entire war on, its construction players would have been less frustrated. I also don't really understand the decision to remain completely quiet about the Illuminate, while the game was struggling with slower content release in the form of war bonds and other updates that didn't involve the new major faction release. During the fall of last year, momentum of both war bonds and new stratagems dropped. New ship modules were sparse. New content, such as a gas mine, were locked behind the success of a major order, instead of opened for purchase. And if the major order failed, the Helldivers would get nothing at all. Then The Omens of Tyranny was released at the Game Awards in front of a huge audience. Sales picked up and suddenly the Helldivers were showered in free stratagems, weapons, and even crossover content. The decision as a live service to first offer nothing new for over a month, only to release a literal explosion of content, which almost all was for free, doesn't quite make sense to me. The Galactic War and the major orders are designed so that players should at least log on every week to help out. Then there should really be something that keep player interest and something that offer progression every or every other week. And that is on top of the War Bond, which was first released every 4 weeks. When the War Bond was changed to every 6 weeks or so, then something else like a single stratagem or a special helmet or cape could be up for grabs. If these are locked behind major orders, then there need to be something else if the order fails. Like a reactive order to the failure, where players can sink resources collectively to be awarded the stratagem instead. But I'm really not here to complain. I'm just sprouting ideas for the future of Helldivers. And with the introduction of the Illuminate, it might be that a lot of things are about to change already. We're still waiting to see what they are planning to do with all the voteless, and we've yet to see the Illuminate in their full might. So here's hoping for good things to come in the second year of Helldivers 2. Over and out.